מזמור לדוד. אדוני רואי לא אכסר, בנאות שירביצני, על מי מנוחות ינעלני. נפשי ישובב, ינחני במקלי צדק למען שמו. גם כי אלק וגיצל מוות, לא ידע רע כי אתה עמדי. שבטך ומשענתך המה ינחמוני. תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צורריי. דישנת בשמן ראשי כוסי רוויה. אך טוב וחסד ידיפוני כל ימי חיי. ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים. The words of the 23rd Psalm, Psalm of David. Adonai is my shepherd, I shall not want. Giving me repose in green meadows, leading me beside the still waters to revive my spirit. Guiding me on the right path, for that is God's essence. Though I walk through a valley of the shadow of death, I fear no harm, for you are with me. Your staff and your rod comfort me. You prepare a banquet for me in the presence of my foes. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and kindness shall be my portion all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of Adonai forever. Welcome, everyone. My name is Rabah from Congregation Shaarey Zedek, and I have the honor of standing with you today as we gather in sacred memory of Susan Frankel of blessed memory. She was also known to the Jewish people by her Hebrew name, Sarah bat Michael Esther, Zichronah Livracha of blessed memory. A woman whose essence was love, quiet, constant, and unwavering. She was a daughter, a sister, a wife, a mother, a grandmother, and a friend. And in each of those roles, she left a legacy that will not fade. As King Solomon says in Ecclesiastes, there is a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance. Today we stand in the tension between those times, holding both grief and gratitude in our hearts. Susan was a cherished daughter of Max and Esther Weinstein of blessed memory, and beloved sister to Sydney and Grace Weinstein, Ronnie and Michael Pollock, Barry and Sharon Weinstein, and Joel, blessed memory, and Kathy Weinstein. She was married to Harvey Frankel for 44 years. 44 years of partnership, of building a life, a home, and a family. In recent years, Harvey became her caregiver, a role he undertook with gentleness and devotion. Their bond became a living example to their children and grandchildren of what it means to truly be there for another human being. The Talmud teaches in Masechet Ketuvot, whoever assists the sick removes 1/60th of their illness. Harvey didn't just assist. He lived beside Susan with love and dignity day by day. Together, they raised 3 devoted sons. Matthew Frankel, married to Eli Hosseini, Robbie Frankel, married to Ray Drake, and Jed Frankel, married to Eugenia Aulestia. Each of them found in Susan not only a parent, but a friend. There were no complications, no conditions, just presence. As one of her children expressed, she was always around, always loving. Interestingly, the Torah does not command us to love our parents. It commands us to honor them. Why? Because love may come and go, but honor is a discipline, is how we act. And yet, Susan made it easy. Her children honor her because they loved her. And they loved her because she made herself entirely available, emotionally, physically, spiritually. That's not common, and it's not to be taken for granted. Susan was the kind of woman who invited everyone in, not just into her home, but into her life. Her table was wide, her heart wider. If someone in the family had a dietary restriction, she always remembered it. If someone was new to the family, she made them feel as though they had always been a part of it. As Pirkei Avot teaches, Yehi beitecha patuach l'revacha. Let your home be wide open. That was Susan. And when Susan became a grandmother, she didn't become a Bobby or a Savta. She became a Boba, a name that her grandchildren, Arya, Romy, and Esti, will remember with delight and warmth. She adored them, obsessed over them, as the family lovingly put it. In them, she saw the continuation of everything she held dear: family, connection, and love. Susan lived with cancer for many years. She fought with quiet strength, surrounded by those who never let her walk alone. The prophet Isaiah says, Nachamu, Nachamu ami, comfort, comfort my people. Today, we draw comfort from one another and from the knowledge that Susan's soul now rests in eternal peace, free from pain. The Zohar teaches that when a soul departs this world, it does not disappear. Rather, it ascends, and from above it continues to shine a light upon those it loved below. May the light of Susan Frankel, Zichronah Livracha, shine upon her beloved Harvey, her children, her grandchildren, her siblings, her family, and all who were lucky enough to call her a friend. Tehi nishmatat Serura b'tzoror hachaim, may her soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. Amen. And to continue the process of eulogizing Susan, I would like to invite first Matthew to come to the microphone to share his eulogy.
Thank you for those kind words. That's tough to follow. Thank you, everyone, for being here, both in person and those who are following online, to honor and celebrate the life of my mom, Susan Diana Frankel. What's really hit home for me this week is just how much my mom meant to so many people, which is reflected in the turnout we have here today. We have been so touched by the outpouring of love and support. Countless personal messages with anecdotes of how my mom positively impacted so many of you have been illuminating and heartwarming. I always knew I was blessed with two outstanding parents, and remember thinking even as a child, if there were quote, better parents out there than mine, I was truly mystified as to what they could possibly have or have done for their kids that my parents didn't. What took more time for me to learn was how much my mom was loved, respected, and admired by people outside of my immediate family. My mom had so many special relationships with her siblings, nieces and nephews, and her many dear friends. The pain I have felt this week has been shared profoundly with so many others. Even those who weren't in her close personal circle, but who had interactions with her, such as my friends or brother's friends, etc., have remarked on her kindness, warmth, ease, and sense of humor. Those closer with her also knew her to be wise, considerate, sensible, and pragmatic. She was a major source of wisdom and advice in my life. And she was the major source of wisdom and advice in my life until I got married. With my dad being a close second. But I believe her best trait was her unapologetic insistence on putting family, and particularly her children, above all else. We were fortunate that my dad earned enough to allow my mom to be a full-time stay-at-home parent. One of the many perks of this was that in addition to driving me and my brothers, to and from school, often in carpool, was that at least once a week she would take me and later on Robbie out for lunch during the school day, about once a week or something. I'm not sure what happened with Jed. I messaged him last night to ask if my mom ever did the same with him, and his answer was not routinely. Maybe Robbie wore her out. Anyways, if I'm being honest, it was the highlight of my elementary school experience. That and my dad pulling me out early on Friday afternoons to go skiing or snowboarding at Spring Hill. I still have vivid memories of going out to eat with her, places like Grapes. You guys remember that place? Earl's and Grab a Java, where my mom would let me order whatever I want, including milkshakes, while my classmates were stuck in a classroom choking down their sack lunches. I'm sure I was a source of envy, but my mom was generous enough to let me take a friend every so often so they could partake in what was just a routine business lunch for me and Mom. As my brothers and I grew and our peers took a more central presence in our lives, my mom never ceased trying to keep her boys together as much as possible. I think one of the best things she ever got my dad to do was build a cottage in Gimli the year I graduated high school. We had spent a good chunk of our summers prior to that renting out there, but having a place to call our own would serve as a major draw to bring everyone together and spend as much time together as possible. The only thing in her way was the tantalizing appeal of Lake of the Woods, where we were often drawn as my uncle and aunt, Barry and Sharon, and my cousins Marshall and Courtney were now spending their summers, in addition to some of our friends. But Gimli wasn't so bad, especially when we could have our friends stay out with us. My mom was happy to host anyone as long as it meant her kids would be there. As we got older still, with careers, wives, and grandchildren, my mom never stopped planning time at the lake, as well as family trips. Outside of our immediate family was our large but close-knit extended family. My mom had a close relationship with her 4 older siblings and all of their kids, and she, along with my aunts and uncles, took part in hosting many Jewish holiday events. It is thanks to my mom and her siblings, of course, that I have close, meaningful relationships with so many of my mostly older cousins, Weinstein cousins, who I thought were the coolest people. My mom loved her siblings, nieces, and nephews, and was proud to be a Weinstein. On occasion growing up, I would tell her that I ran into someone, in the community who, after hearing my last name, Frankel, asked me if I was related to so-and-so. Parenthetically, we don't have many relatives on my dad's side. And the answer was almost always no. I don't know if I'm related to them. And my mom would say, just tell them you're a Weinstein. This was not a knock at all on my dad's family, by the way. There was just so many Weinsteins that everyone knew at least one of them. So even as my brothers and I came into adulthood, where time became more and more scarce, she served as the center of gravity that kept bringing everyone together. She would always be planning something and asking in the Frank's group chat when everyone was free. It was probably at times a tiresome task, as it would often take repeated texts from her to get a response from all of us. If it wasn't for her, I definitely wouldn't see my dad, brothers, sisters-in-law, and nieces as much as I have these past few years. It's something I'm grateful for, but of course never thanked my mom for. One of those things you don't appreciate until later. But now that she is gone, I vow to keep getting together with everyone, as I know that is what she would want. My mom was the eternal optimist, both appreciating what she had and also always looking to the future. After her diagnosis, it didn't matter if she was having a good day or bad. She consistently advertised her plans. Often these were concrete and ranged in scale from simple visits with the grandkids to something more involved, such as a trip. A common text message she would send is something like, "I'm down and out for these few days, but planning to see the kiddos this weekend," or something like that. Other times, her plans were necessarily more abstract. For instance, when my wife Ellie and I would vacation somewhere and I'd report to my mom about wherever we were, she'd sometimes say, "I'd like to go there someday." And sadly, while too many of her plans were never realized, many were. Over the course of her illness, she squeezed in a whole host of trips with destinations including Israel, Italy, London, and Hawaii. She even made it to Las Vegas as recently as this past February. Even on this last trip, she hardly left the hotel room, and only with a scooter, she was determined to participate in her family's vacations. And even during these last few weeks, when her condition acutely deteriorated, she maintained her optimism and will to live. After several days of being too weak to get out of bed, she found herself in an ambulance to the emergency at the recommendation of her oncologist. And during that ambulance ride, or shortly thereafter in the emergency, she was catching up on texts. Earlier that day, my brother Rabah sent out a family message inquiring if anyone was interested in going to a Father's Day dinner at St. Charles Country Club. Her response was, "Very up for the Father's Day dinner." And even when it became clear that her death was imminent, and I told her how sorry I was that she was going through this, she simply responded, "Matthew, I have no regrets, none, about anything or any of you." She did lament about how her illness had impacted my dad and rightly pointed out that he is a saint. What my dad did for her these last few years, and in particular these past few weeks, cannot be overemphasized. He was such a devout caretaker, and like my mom, never once complained or gave the slightest hint of self-pity. But right after she lamented about how her illness impacted my dad, she, in her weak voice in bed, said, "But he doesn't have it so bad." I said, "Huh?" She goes, "He doesn't like to travel or go out with people." No offense, friends. You know what she meant. Although she was, of course, at times scared and anxious about her condition, she was always optimistic. When she had found herself back in her oncologist's office in 2017 after discovering the cancer had spread throughout her liver and bones, she told her oncologist, "Just so you know, I'm on the 10-year plan." I believe in response, he smiled and said he was on board with that. Her oncologist, Dr. Marshall Peets, was so great about matching my mom's optimism. At the time, I thought the idea of her living another year seemed like a stretch. What did I know? I believe her optimism, combined with her undying determination to spend time with her family, carried her through another astounding nearly 8 years. Although I knew her disease was incurable and progressive, it was so indolent that it really did start to feel like she would never succumb to this illness. The best days were the ones I got to tell her that the results of her CT scan were stable, and she would respond with that happy dancing pig gif. I think Adele knows what I'm talking about. She may have got it from you. If you don't, just Google dance happy pig gif. It's great. We are so thankful to Dr. Peets, who treated my mom so competently and with immense care and compassion over a span of 12 years. Our family cannot express enough gratitude to him for giving my mom as much quantity and, whenever possible, as high a quality of life that was possible. With her unrelenting disease and sometimes brutal treatments. Going hand in hand with my mom's optimism was her stoicism. She lived with metastatic breast cancer for 12 years. That's nearly 20% of her lifespan. And in that time, she suffered every symptom in the book and then some. It is truly astounding the number of physical ailments she suffered with at one time or another. And although she was not shy about reporting these to me, she almost never talked about them in a complaining or self-pitying manner. While lucky people her age get to spend their golden years traveling, or a member of a golf club or tennis club or some other recreational organization, my mom was essentially an outpatient member of the hospital. Endless medications, chemotherapies, radiation treatments, tubes and catheters, weekly blood tests, quarterly scans, and anxiety-provoking doctor appointments were not only her life, but constant reminders that she was in a fight for it. But she never harped on these things. If she ever went down a dark hole, it wasn't for long. Sometimes she would send our family a text saying, "Just want you to know I'm feeling good today." She explained that she didn't want to only text us when she was having a bad day, but a good one as well. She didn't want to be a source of our pity and was very much concerned about our feelings and well-being, even when it was her bearing the brunt of this. Despite everything, my mom was so grateful for her life and everyone in it. In the 12 years since her diagnosis, she got to be present for Jed's graduation for medical school, witness Robbie break 80, and got to be at all three of her sons' weddings, and was able to spend quality time with her three granddaughters, whom she adored more than anything. They were the light of her life, she would say. She was always showering them with clothes and toys, even up until the end, when she was pretty much bedbound. And despite not being able to be as physical with her grandkids as she would have liked to be, she would have killed to just be able to get on the floor with them. She made the most of every minute with them. On days she was too ill to do anything but lie around, she said she would just rewatch videos of the girls over and over. She said to me at the end that the hardest part about dying was not getting to see her grandkids grow and not getting to meet Jed and Eugenia's children. And by far the most painful thing for me right now is taking a picture or video of our daughter Aria and not being able to send it to my mom, as I've been doing this daily since Aria was born. But of course, we will tell her grandkids all about her, show them her pictures and videos, and talk of her often. She will always be with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Ray, please.
Talk about a tough act, both of you. Wow. I've been working on this for days, trying to figure out how to begin talking about Susan. It's difficult. She wasn't just a mother, a wife, sister, friend, or grandmother. She was, as Matthew said, our center of gravity. She was the one who held us all together. She always knew who was coming or going, and she made a point of getting us together whenever she could. She was present, responsive, and always available. She kept the Franks group chat alive and wasn't afraid to scold you, Eugenia, if you didn't text back fast enough. Her absence is surreal. I ache for her physical presence, but I also recognize the profound and lasting imprint she's left on our lives. The first time I visited Winnipeg was for the holidays in 2015. It was December and it was freezing, and yet, somehow, Susan made Winnipeg feel like the warmest place on earth. Being in the home where Robbie grew up gave me a glimpse into what and who had shaped him. And it shifted something in me. There was a closeness to the Frankel family I'd never seen before, and ease to how they spoke to one another. They talked about everything: work, politics, friends, sports, TV, Mr. Market's mood. But the real focus was dinner. What should we order? Do we have enough? And should we get one more thing, just in case? And at the center of it all was Susan, quietly steering the conversation, making sure everyone was fed and that our hearts felt full. When Robbie and I married in 2018, Susan officially became my mother-in-law, but she was far from any cliche. Yes, she texted lingering ruminations about conversations we thought had ended long ago that night. And yes, she had strong opinions, like whether or not Robbie should join St. Charles when we were expecting our first child. But once a decision was made, she respected it and she respected us. She was in our corner, always. Susan taught me so much, but maybe the most lasting thing was how she modeled getting her needs met. I spent most of my life trying to not be too much or need too much, but Susan had this quiet clarity and she knew her worth. She wasn't afraid to advocate for herself. She didn't over-explain and she didn't apologize. Whether she was asking for a different hotel room, returning a pair of shoes to Nordstrom without the receipt, or politely declining an invitation she wasn't up for, she was direct, fair, and firm. She could set a boundary without leaving a bruise. And I think about that every day. When she became Bova, something changed in her. I watched her transform. She became this silly, animated, adoring version of herself, beaming so brightly while she held our girls for hours, completely content. But she was not a rule enforcer. So she'd look at me sheepishly, half apologetic, anytime I set a boundary, knowing she likely couldn't bring herself to follow it. She was completely and joyfully obsessed with the girls, and as her dollies grew older, her insatiable appetite for photos and videos only grew, like little digital snacks to keep her going when she couldn't be with them in person. Like Matthew said, I still catch myself reaching for my phone to send her something, only to remember. Susan's presence is everywhere, but perhaps nowhere more than at the cottage in Gimli. She loved that place, and she's woven into the very fabric of it. Her striped rocking chair, the still lake behind her, a baby asleep in her arms, the overflowing snack drawer and pantry, her spot in the sunroom, paper bags of sweet snap peas. Our walks to Turgeson's, Beach Boy dinners, fish fins, Greek salad, and pickled cheeks were her favorite, and always, always way too many options for dessert. Last year, she expanded the cottage to accommodate our growing family. She asked me to help with the design, picking finishes and furniture, and I was elated to finally do something for her after everything she's done for me. Susan was an impossibly rare type of woman, kind and strong in equal measure. The resilience that showed up in every part of her life, but especially in these last few years. She never pretended to be fine if she wasn't, but she didn't wallow. If you asked, she'd tell you. If you wanted to know, she'd let you in. But she never made her illness the center of the room because she never let it become the center of her life. She continued to plan elaborate family vacations, gather us for weekly dinners, bake desserts, host, shop, and play Maj. She stayed fully invested in everyone's lives right until the end. On the good days, she made them great. On the bad ones, she gave herself rest and looked forward to what was next. I'll miss her every single day, but I'll also carry her with me in how I parent, and how I ask for what I need, and how I show up for the people that I love. Susan held this family together by feeding us, by loving us completely, and by always being the first to text, "What's doing?" Now it's up to us to hold each other, to nourish each other, to send those late-night texts and continue what she started. But she left us the roadmap. Be generous, be curious, be just opinionated enough, and above all, love your family and friends so thoroughly that even in your absence, they still feel you everywhere. And always order dessert. If you also allow me, I just want to read a couple. There's been so many beautiful messages of support and love. I just have a few that I'd like to share because I think they capture so beautifully what people outside the family are saying. I'll start with Robbie. You didn't text me this, but actually you did. I simply don't have the words right now, but I know that I'll be speaking about her for the rest of my life. For whatever reason, the anecdote that's giving me the most comfort right now is that despite my parents paying a small fortune in SJR tuition, which included a bus ticket that picked me up on our corner, my mom still ended up driving to the school 3 times a week to either bring me my hockey equipment that I'd forgotten for gym class or because I just missed the bus taking a dump. She was so funny, and I couldn't have possibly loved and admired her anymore. My world is forever darker without her, but her light will always shine through for all of us. This is from a friend of mine. Robbie and Ray, I'm sending you this through tears. My sister called me earlier, also in tears, and told me about Susan. This might sound weird, but we both reflected on how surprised we were to be crying. Like, we both have known many friends who have lost their parents the way we lost one of ours, and of course we feel sad each time, but never like this. It's strange how empathy has different levels of intensity sometimes, and even stranger how one can feel shock in the face of something inevitable. Maybe it's because Susan had cancer is a story with more chapters than the usual cancer narrative. Maybe it's because she was inarguably one of the kindest, most positive, warm, and loving people I've ever encountered in our community. Hands down, my favorite friend mom ever. Not a gossip, not concerned with flashy things. She genuinely cared for the people around her, and even those who weren't around her very often. She took interest in everyone and their accomplishments and their struggles and their kids, even when she had her own children and plenty of stuff to keep her busy. From what Ray has told me so many times in the last few years, Susan endured the most horrific discomfort from her treatment and yet never complained. She was never bitter. Other people in the same situation have left this world differently. Not everyone has the rare inherent grace to find softness and gratitude in unfortunate circumstances. That's reserved for the extra special people in this life. And this is from, I don't know if I should say names, but this is from Sammy. Your mom helped me see past the pessimism that so often convinced me how people can sometimes be selfish or uncaring. I know that sounds harsh, but it's true. Quite simply and sincerely, she was one of the kindest, sweetest, and warmest people I've ever met. From the moment I saw her smile when I was invited to Matthew's bar mitzvah over 25 years ago, to all the wonderful memories of enjoying her amazing treats in Gimli, each moment was special. I'll never forget laughing at all the Curb Your Enthusiasm jokes she so enjoyed, lovingly teasing Harvey about his need to drive to Winnipeg Beach 3 times a day, or how she was always the only one who liked my boring Instagram posts. She was truly someone exceptional. I loved your mom, and everyone who knew her did. The highest compliment I can pay to you is that her kindness always reminded me of my late father-in-law, Joel. I'll never forget her. And this one's from Benji. I just wanted to pass along how sad I am to hear the news and how much we're all going to miss her. Your mom is such a central part of every memory I have of our extended Weinstein family that it's impossible to think of her not being there. Everybody should be as lucky as I have been to have such a cool aunt who has been there for their entire life. I've had 50 years of amazing memories, probably beginning with her being at Bubby and Zeta's condo in Fort Lauderdale when I was basically a baby. I remember your mom and dad's wedding at Tuxedo Estates. I remember sitting around together in the days after Matthew was born. I remember the nice new house in Tuxedo, which was also the first time I was told by my parents that a dentist is a very good career choice. And that was just the early days. I used to babysit for you guys, and they'd come home, I'd often be asleep on the couch, and she'd pretend it was all fine and not a total dereliction of babysitting duty. When your dad and Barry both got sweet new matching sound systems with a CD player and double cassette, we'd blare Tough Enough by the Fabulous Thunderbirds, and she'd keep a straight face. Great song, by the way. I snapped the mast on a windsurf and had to be towed back in shame by a random sailor. And when I got to the cottage to confess my massive failure, she acted like it was a normal thing to happen. There are plenty of soccer moms and hockey moms, but I don't know of any other windsurfing moms. She made homemade Oreos and kept a fully stocked candy drawer. She had the Weinstein sense of humor, which I've always thought is such a big part of our extended family. And she had it in huge supply. But the most unique and special thing I know about her was her pure and genuine kindness. She was the nicest person I know and have consciously tried to incorporate lessons I learned from observing her into my own parenting, which is not easy, by the way. Losing her leaves a huge gap, but you will all honor her by following her example as people and spouses and parents. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. Eugenia and Jed, please.
Now, I'd like to say a few words to Susan, because I know she's here and she can hear us. Susan, when I fell in love with Jed, I didn't realize I'd also be gaining you, a woman of incredible strength and the softest heart. You welcomed me exactly as I am, with open arms and without hesitation. You loved your sons fiercely and their wives as if we were your own. Together with Harvey, you built a home that we all crave to be in and a family that's endlessly drawn to one another. You created a closeness between us that few people ever get to experience. You raised 3 incredible boys, loving, empathetic, resilient, and successful in their own right. You gave us a blueprint for raising our children and set the standard for what a lifelong partnership and marriage should be. How lucky are we to have had you as a wife, a mother-in-law, a boba, and a friend. Suze, you are the center of the Frankel family and the glue that holds us all together. There would be no us without you. I told you this last week, but I'll never stop saying it. Thank you for gifting me the family that I now get to call mine. Anyone who knows you understands what I mean when I say that no words can truly capture how your absence will touch every part of our lives. I'll especially miss sitting with you, trading stories, hearing about your latest Maj hat trick, peeking at what packages arrived that week, and having a slice of your banana cake. You fought cancer with extraordinary grace, determination, and unwavering positivity. More than any treatment, I believe it was your refusal to see yourself as a victim that gave you the quality of life and the time you had. Your spirit never dimmed, even as the good days grew fewer and farther between. When I first met you in 2018, I wasn't sure how much time we'd have together, but you gave me the greatest gift of all. Enough time not just to know you, but to love you and share daily life with you. I'll always be grateful for that. Your spirit is stitched in every corner of this family, woven into who we are and how we love. While your absence is deeply felt, your enormous presence continues to be the central light in each of our homes. You can rest easy now, knowing that the family legacy you built will live on in every family dinner, every story told, every banana cake baked, and every grandchild who will grow up knowing their boba, and in the unshakable closeness we will always share because of you. You want me to do it? Okay. This one's the hard one. Now, Jed wanted me to share a few words on his behalf. Over the last couple of months, he has spent time writing this letter to Susan. She was able to read it a few weeks ago, which I'm so grateful for. It is too long to read it all, but I will share a few snippets. Dear Mama, as I approach my 30th birthday, I have spent a lot of time reflecting on my life and my relationships. What relationship could be more important, impactful, and beautiful as ours? I won't say perfect, because what relationship or anything in life for that matter is perfect. But I can say with complete openness and honesty that the relationship that you and I have had my entire life has been the closest thing to perfect that I know. Growing up with you was like growing up with a celebrity. I was constantly cared for, catered to, and just loved extraordinarily. I always wondered if any other mothers and sons just enjoyed spending time together so much. I remember when I finally moved out 4 years ago, I came to your house the night before, and you had purchased mugs for Yuge and I, one with E and one with J on them. You said you were going to miss leaving the outside lights on and waiting up for me. While you may not have noticed, my heart broke in that moment. I knew a new chapter was starting for me, one where I wasn't going to be living under the same roof as you. Saying goodbye to you was always the hardest thing. Mom, you have done everything for me. You have made me the person I am today. I remember when your cancer recurred and I went out for lunch with Zach Frag when he was in town. I told him that I was actually doing okay because I realized that even though it sucked, I said I still considered myself so lucky. I remember very clearly telling him I would not trade anything to have a mom that lived until she was 100 because it meant that I wouldn't get the 30 years that I had with you. You have provided me with everything I need to live a long and fulfilled life. You taught me such strong values, most importantly, how family needs to be valued. Mom, because of you, I do feel like I can deal with anything that comes my way, except for one thing. And it's the one thing that I fear more than anything, and it's going to be the hardest thing that I will ever deal with in my life. It will be saying my last goodbye to you. That you will never prepare me for, because you are the most important person to me. Your and my relationship will never be recreated. I will never love anyone like I love you. But as I said before, I would not change a thing, because even though this misfortune has come your way, I will always feel like the luckiest boy in the world. I feel so blessed that you have been by my side for every milestone in life. High school grad, white coat ceremony, med school grad, our wedding, moving into our first home. Having you walk me down the aisle to marry Yuge was one of the most special moments in my life. I can't express how grateful and blessed I felt in that moment, and I still can't get over how beautiful you looked on that special day. I am so happy you got to spend 7 years with Yuge, and I'm so happy that she got to spend those years with you. I couldn't imagine spending the rest of my life with someone who didn't know you. The only thing you will be missing, unfortunately, is getting to know our children. That sucks. There's no other good way to spin it. It just sucks. It sucks for you, it sucks for us, and it sucks for them. But I promise I will spend my whole life instilling the values that you have taught me in them. They will be named after you. They will know everything about you. They will have a part of you in them. It does give me great joy seeing you as a grandmother and a boba already. And I know that this is surely the greatest joy for you as well. Mom, the strength you have shown over the last several years is my biggest inspiration. And oh, how lucky we were to find out I was matched to residency in Winnipeg. All of my long hours of work, and countless sleepless nights, I realized what you were also going through, and it gives me so much strength. You are relentless in making the most of life, even when the cards you have been dealt have been so crappy. It is a constant reminder of one of your favorite life lessons: don't sweat the small stuff. I try to remember this every day. I have been sitting on this letter for a little while now because I keep thinking of more things I want to add, but I think it is time to give it to you. But trust me, I will spend the rest of my life thinking of more things to add to this letter. And I think I will leave it as an open draft that I keep adding to forever. Mom, I love you more than I love anything in this world. I love you more than you could ever understand. And I will always love you forever. Your youngest boy, Jed.
Thank you so much. We have one more eulogy that is going to be presented by Jeremy.
I'll keep this quick. It's going to be disjointed as I just sort of put notes together as I've been here today. I had a very special relationship with Susan. She was like a second mother to me at times, and a great friend. She was my mom's youngest sibling, and they were especially close. Susan was the youngest of 5 siblings. I'm the oldest of 13 grandchildren and cousins, and this sort of feels like the chain has been broken to me. Susan used to tell me she told me all the time that when I was born, she would run home from school as fast as she could, or go to my house and come to see me as a baby, and that's all she wanted to do. And her friends would come with her. I'm sure some of you are here and might remember that as well. It always made me feel very special that Susan felt that way about me, and I know that I'm not alone in feeling that way. When each of my kids were born in Calgary, I moved to Calgary 23 years ago. When each of them were born, she made the trip out to come see us and meet my kids. I'll never forget that, I hope. When my parents moved away in 98, and I was still here for a few years, I put myself through some difficult I call them self-inflicted heartbreaks. And I would end up at the Frankel house on the couch. Well, Susan just always opened her house to me. It really made me feel like I had somewhere to go and to be just around warmth and just around love and family. And it would, you go through tough times, but those really make them easier. Every time I'd come back to town, back into Winnipeg, the Frankel house would be, the first or second stop I would make. Every time I would kind of get to the airport, grab a rental car, and head over there, kind of like everyone has said today, a center of gravity, somewhere to base yourself. I remember when Jed was born, and I guess, Jed, I don't know, you were maybe four months old. You were a little bit older for your name to change. And Susan called me and she said, Jeremy, I'm thinking about changing Jamie's name. And I said, that's interesting. Well, what are you thinking? And she said, well, I think I might change it to Jed. And she said, what do you think? And I said, well, you got to think about Jed Clampett and the Beverly Hillbillies. And I said, Susan, I said, don't worry about it. Go for it. I think it can be a cool name, and Jed will redefine that name. And Jed, you've proven me right, and you've done well by your name. Like Ray said about pictures and videos, and Susan always wanted more pictures and videos of her grandchildren. It runs in the family. My mother, who's her sister, and as you know, literally lives 5 minutes away from her grandchildren, still wants pictures and videos even though she's only 5 minutes away. So I certainly understand what that Susan wanted that. I live in a similar situation. Let me just see. I have notes here, and they're all in different orders. I put numbers beside them because I wanted to have some orderly to the. I just did this now. Let me just see what else I want to say, and then I will end this, I promise. When her health took a really bad turn a couple weeks ago, it was hard for me. It was hard for all of us, I know. And I wanted to reach out. I wanted to say some words to her, and I couldn't do it on the phone. So I sent a text message to you boys, and I just want to thank you guys for sharing. I don't know who read it to her, but I know somebody did, and it really felt nice to know that I could say some final words, because I wasn't here until yesterday. So that was really nice, and I want to thank you guys for that. And I just want to, in a way, I feel like I'm maybe sort of speaking on behalf of our extended family. We were 13 cousins, and I just didn't expect to be here this soon. But that's it. I just want to say, we miss you. We love you, Susan, and here's the hard part. Say hi to Jonas. Say hi to Uncle Joel, Bubby Esther, and Zeta Max.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you to everyone who presented those beautiful and moving eulogies. I would like to invite everyone to rise now for the memorial prayer, the El Maleh Rachmim. El Maleh Rachamim, Shochem Bameroimim, Hametzei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei HaShekhinah V'Mahalot Kedoshim Uteorim Kezoyer HaRakim Amazirim Eden Ishema את נשמת שרה בת מיכל ואסתר שעליך לעולמה ועבור שמתפללים ועד הזכרת נשמת בגן עדן בגן עדן תהי מנוחתה לכם ולרחמים יעשתי ראיה וסדרקנה אבב לעולמים וצרור בצרור החיים החיים את נשמתה אדוני ונחלתה ותנוח ושלום על משכבה ונאמר Amen. Exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of Susan Frankel, who has gone to her eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May her soul be bound up in the bond of life. May she rest in peace. And let us all say, Amen. You may be seated. In a few minutes, we are going to proceed in caravan fashion to the Shaarey Zedek Cemetery, located in the corner of Main Street and Armstrong Avenue. If you're coming with us to the cemetery, please remember to turn on your four-way flashers. And also please remember to stop signs and red lights. Immediately after burial, the family will proceed to a private meal of consolation, and also the Shiva is going to be private. I would like to extend a few thank yous on behalf of the family. So thank you to Lisa, Gemma, Dr. Pitts, Sharon, Kathy, Harriet, Audrey, and Edie, and also thank you to Erin. At this point, we are ready to proceed to the next stage, which is to go to the cemetery. So I would like to invite the immediate family to leave the sanctuary now and proceed directly to your transportation. And also I would like to invite the pallbearers to exit and assume their places alongside the coffin. As for the rest of you, I would like to ask you to remain in your seats until I get the sign from our funeral director from the back of the sanctuary that it's time for us to leave the sanctuary. And the tradition is, as soon as you leave the sanctuary, please leave the building, and we are going to form 2 rows outside through which the coffin will find its way to the hearse. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. Thank you, everyone at home, for tuning in.